Fuji GFX100 Mark II is the hero of our day. It's the full review of this camera, and I gotta say I love this camera, but this camera is not for everybody. Let me explain why. Build quality is fantastic. There's nothing to, to be picky about. There's this beautiful OLED panel on the top that you can, change what it shows. You can also use this bulb here to make it brighter. You have classic PASM dial button here. You have switch between movie and still mode. You have quick menu, which is very important for all Fuji users because quick menu gives you access to most important settings and you can customize this quick menu. You have classic Fujifilm menu with a lot of customization possible. When it comes to ports, you have quite a nice selection. So you have headphone jack here. You have microphone jack, a full-sized HDMI, USB-C that can also charge and transfer data, and you have LAN port if you want to transfer some files through FTP. And when it comes to speed of this camera, it can shoot at 8 frames per second, which is pretty cool. However, it's not a sports camera anyways, so I don't use it too much. You have 3 function buttons on the top. You have 2 more here between the lens and the grip, and you have a switch, for example, that is to me very important between single, continuous and manual focus mode, which is great because, for example, this kit lens kit lens in medium format, that's amazing, doesn't have this switch, so it's really cool to have it. You have a hot shoe on the top if you want to mount some strobes, and very important, you can mount a viewfinder here, and this viewfinder is awesome. When it comes to display, back display can tilt, can flip, so it can do pretty much everything you want. So it can flip and it can tilt, but it cannot flip out, so basically it makes it difficult to record yourself. So if you want to make YouTube channel on it, make sure to buy some kind of mirror solution for hot shoe and you should be fine. However, that's something to consider, and I think that next generation should have full flip out screen. Okay, so build quality is really good. The only thing that I don't like is this covers. It's rather bad quality. It's weather sealed, but not too good. It doesn't feel great when it comes to such a high-end thing, but that's just a little thing. Okay, now let's talk about the most important part, which is image quality. The amount of details that you get from raw files is amazing. You can see for yourself this street art or couple of other shots, for example in my studio with my vintage audio equipment, that this lens, this camera really delivers. So high amount of detail, amazing, and it doesn't look like from your phone. You can have Xiaomi phone with 100 megapixels, but it will look very digital. This doesn't look digital. You have a lot of details, but it doesn't look too digital. It doesn't give you this feeling. It looks good actually. There's a high resolution mode with pixel shift. I don't like pixel shift. The only company that did it right to me is Olympus, now OM Systems, but with OM1, for example, it's really fantastic. But here you have to use a tripod, and the gain is really not much, so yeah. Anyways, talking about quality, let's talk about something that is the most important stuff to me, which is dynamic range, and I'm pleased to report that dynamic range is fantastic on this camera. While learning how to operate this camera, I overexposed and underexposed some frames, and you can see for yourself that dragging these files up, when it comes to this windmill in underexposed windmill in Portugal, Alentejo, Portugal, then you have you can really push it far. You can really make it brighter, 2 stops and no problems. When you overexpose, which is more of a problem, you can pull it down and still you don't lose any details, so it is amazing. But even properly exposed samples, as you can see for yourself, dragging shadows up, highlights down, perfect. So dynamic range is something you might want to consider this camera for. However, I gotta say that I liked it even more on the older version of this camera, not this camera, but I liked it more on the first version of GFX50 with 50 megapixels. So 100 megapixels, more details, but less dynamic range. Something for something, but still we are talking about amazing dynamic range, specifically if you compare it to much smaller full frame sensors. Now let's talk about high ISO values. To me, 1600 is the you know, very safe, so no problem there, no extra grain. But if you were talking about 3200, it starts to be grainy. At 6400 it's still usable, no problem, but you gotta be careful. If you don't like grain, if you're a high-end user, which probably you are if you are looking at this camera, then 6400 is the last I would go. Anything above that to me is not very usable, but that's the, you know, there's a tax you pay for 100 megapixels, and period. So something to keep in mind, be careful of that. And let's move to the next section, which is autofocus. Autofocus, I want to report, and again, like with pleasure, that it works very well. It's not on par with Sony and Canon, specifically with Sony, which is my favorite autofocus system. It's not on par with Panasonic also, but it's close. Fuji is really trying to get there, and they are slowly getting there. So it can track your eye, it can you can use touch for focusing to different subjects. It's pretty snappy, it's pretty responsive, no problems there. It's, as I said, not the best one on the market, but very good, and it won't spoil your shots. Okay, now let's talk about another subject, which is video. This camera can shoot 4K, can shoot of course full HD, but can shoot 4K and 8K. And usually when I talk about 8K, I think of something that is not really usable, but in this camera 8K looks spectacular. It looks better than 4K. 4K will get some artifacts, and you can see for yourself a comparison. 8K will give you more detail, more crispiness, it's more refined. However, there's a trap there because it's cropped. So 4K full sensor readout, 8K unfortunately not. So there's a crop, and that's where you can see that there's some navigation in this camera. There are some functions that are amazing. There are some possibilities that were never present in any medium format camera or digital medium format, because it's not the same, it's not equivalent of the analog medium format. For that size of a sensor, it never happened in the history that we had so many possibilities here. So basically 4K is really good, 8K fantastic, but you have to deal with the crop. So you can see for yourself the comparison, but generally speaking, the quality of videos out of this camera are amazing. And one more thing, Fujifilm flat profile, the F log, is fantastic. It's one of the best flat profiles on the market, and their own free native LUT will correct everything beautifully, and you can adjust it to your taste. Amazing. So this actually creates a beautiful workflow. It's not a camera for everyone, and I will explain you why. And I will tell you why, because like there are some problems that we encounter here that are connected to big sensor, and still technology is not 100% there. So in case of 4K, for example, you have rolling shutter. It's acceptable, it's okay, it's just regular rolling shutter, nothing spectacular there. But in case of the best looking 8K clips with crop, unfortunately comes huge rolling shutter. So that's something that I would consider when taking into consideration buying this camera, because you are in the market for something high-end. Price is more like reasonable than ever before, so it's like slowly medium format cameras are becoming more accessible to more people, to more population. However, still we are talking about big expense, and you still have to navigate through a lot of some caveats. Is this the word you say in English, my poor English? So when you pair it with tilt shift lens, like this 30mm tilt shift lens that I have here, that I used for some interior photography and for some architecture photography, this thing is amazing. It turns into heavy, big beast, but you can produce absolutely fantastic, phenomenal images. You have no creative limits, and even for the video, I like tilt shift cameras because they produce beautiful images. Okay, so that's something I love about this camera. But there are some limitations, like this rolling shutter, like the crop on 8K. So there are some things to consider. I would like this to be fixed in Fujifilm GFX100 Mark II, which I'm really hoping to see pretty soon. And These less megapixels can give even more dynamic range, which is something most important to me. But still, the amount of detail, how beautiful those photos are, how much fun you can have with this camera, how refreshing it can be for a photographer, and how refreshing like this tilt shifting can be, that's really amazing, and it's worth every penny or every cent or every whatever currency you're in. And I hope you guys enjoyed my review of this camera. If you did, please don't forget to leave thumbs up, subscribe, and I see you guys in the next one. Cheers.